Just last month, The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt celebrated its 10th anniversary, a game that is considered as one of the greatest and is still played many years later. But what if I told you something wild might be happening? There are some pretty strong rumors floating around that a brand new DLC for The Witcher 3 isn't just wishful thinking, but a real project in the works. In this video, we'll dive into this rumor coming from a popular Polish podcast, break down the details they revealed, and discuss what it could mean for The Witcher 3 and how it might tie in into the upcoming Witcher 4. Let's get right into it. So this big rumor is that The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt is set to get a new story-focused DLC, a game that tons of people think set the gold standard for open-world RPGs, that sold over 60 million copies, might just be about to break all the rules by releasing significant new story content this long after its heyday. And these are not just random internet whispers either. They are pointing to a specific development timeline, suggesting this DLC would land before The Witcher 4, so we're probably looking at 2026. That would be exactly 10 years after its last amazing expansion, Blood and Wine. The claims suggest this will be a pretty big deal, not just some cosmetic items or a small side quest like we got with the next-gen update back in 2022. Yeah, you remember that beautiful armor, don't you? To really get why these rumors are such a huge deal, we need to remember what The Witcher 3 and its expansions, Hearts of Stone and Blood and Wine, actually mean to gaming. Hearts of Stone gave us this dark, twisty, brilliant story with one of the greatest antagonists in the series. And Blood and Wine? Well, that felt like a whole new game, a massive, beautiful send-off for Geralt in sunny Toussaint, or Toussaint as you say. Those expansions really set the bar for what post-launch content could be, offering tons of hours of gameplay, new places to explore, new characters, and stories that were often better than full-priced games. And you could even draw a parallel with Phantom Liberty in Cyberpunk. The Witcher 3 has stuck around for ages, helped by that next-gen update in 2022 that gave it a fresh boost for new players. And CD Projekt even announced official mod support for consoles coming later this year. It is still one of the most played RPGs on Steam, with an active modding scene and constant new players joining. The fact that it's still selling, charting and talked about this much a decade later is pretty rare in gaming. CDPR has also talked in investor calls about supporting their legacy titles in meaningful ways, but a full-on story DLC, that's a completely different thing. It's the kind of news that sends shockwaves of excitement and, let's be honest, a bit of disbelief through the whole gaming world. The game's already won over 2050 Game of the Year awards. Its legacy is rock solid. So the big question is, why now? And who could be making it? Because no one's been actively working on The Witcher 3 for quite a while now. So where are these bombshell claims coming from? The news came out from this episode of the podcast Rock Eye Boris, which features Remigiusz Maciasiak and his co-host Boris Knightspolak. So they have a history of accurate inside info about CD Projekt Red. They were one of the first to report on Cyberpunk 2077's serious issues on last-gen consoles back in early 2020. It's not the first time these two have accurately predicted CDPR's moves, which is why these particular rumors are picking up so much steam. But what exactly did they say? Let's listen to it.
Z zebranych przez nas informacji wynika, że ogłoszonym tajemniczym projektem CD Projekt Red, robionym przez Fool's Theory, jest fabularne DLC do Wiedźmina III. I to jest informacja potwierdzona w kilku niezależnych źródłach. I teraz bardzo ważna rzecz, musimy sobie rozdzielić, co wiemy, czego nie wiemy. Wiemy, że to jest DLC do Wiedźmina III. Dotarłem do jednej informacji, czy tego nie mogę jakoś bardziej potwierdzić, że najwcześniej to jest przyszły rok i też mniej więcej wiemy, jaka kolejność będzie, czyli najpierw mody do konsol, potem DLC do Wiedźmina III, potem Wiedźmin 4, a potem Wiedźmin 1 Remake. Czego nie wiemy? Nie wiemy, jak to będzie długie, czy to będzie kosztować pieniądze, czy będzie za darmo. Jeżeli będzie kosztować, czy to będzie jaki będzie koszt po prostu. Kiedy premiera, też tego zupełnie nie wiemy.
so there is a lot to dissect. According to their sources, the info about this new Witcher 3 DLC isn't from just one person, but has been confirmed by several independent sources. That's a pretty big detail. Multiple sources definitely make the rumor sound a lot more legit. Right after this segment, they also mentioned that they had known about it for a while, but wanted to be absolutely sure before going public. It looks like that moment came when CD Projekt, in a recent investor call, mentioned an unannounced project being developed with an external studio. For them, this was a major piece of the puzzle that fit with what they had heard. The timeline they are suggesting is also interesting. First, the official mod support for consoles, which we know is coming later this year. Then, the Witcher 3 DLC, after that, The Witcher 4, which is around 2027 at best, and finally, The Witcher 1 remake, which is still a long way off from actual development. This kind of order suggests a plan, not just random releases. While CD Projekt hasn't officially said anything about a new Witcher 3 DLC, the dots are starting to connect in a way that's hard to ignore. So, with CD Projekt fully focused on The Witcher 4, with over 400 developers plus the Cyberpunk sequel and other internal projects, it makes total sense that this DLC would be handled externally. And that's where Fool's Theory comes in. Remember, this is a new territory for CD Projekt. They have already handed off parts of development to other teams, like the Modestis Flood for Project Sirius, which is actually not a good example because the studio was merged with CD Projekt back in April 2025. But a better example, and a recent one, is with Cyberpunk 2077. Because, just like The Witcher 3, there has been no developer working on the game since 2024. But with the help of the studio Virtuos, they released new updates and a new one coming this 26th June. So, giving them the keys to this project fits CD Projekt's recent pattern perfectly. And this is where the rumor starts to sound really believable. Fool's Theory isn't just some random studio. They are a Polish developer made up of industry veterans, including people who actually worked on The Witcher 2 and The Witcher 3 itself. Leading the team is Jakub Rokosz, one of the main quest designers on The Witcher 3. He's the guy behind the Ice Giant quest, a fan favorite and one of the most memorable parts of the game. There is Karolina Kuza-Rokosz, an experienced designer who also worked on Witcher 3, and Krzysztof Juczynski, another former quest designer, now the technical director at Fool's Theory. All of that means that they know the game, the world, and the Red Engine. Plus, Fool's Theory is already officially working with CD Projekt Red. They are the team making the upcoming remake of the very first Witcher game. The thinking is that CD Projekt is sending off this Witcher 3 DLC to Fool's Theory. This lets them revisit a massively popular game without pulling too many people away from their main projects. And it makes a lot of sense from a business perspective. CD Projekt can cash in on The Witcher 3's ongoing popularity and use a trusted partner who knows the series. They've got the talent, the experience with the franchise, and they are already in business with CD Projekt. If anyone outside of CD Projekt's main team was going to make the new Witcher 3 content, Fool's Theory sounds like the perfect choice. Since this will be built on Red Engine, not Unreal, it makes even more sense for CD Projekt Red to end it off. Now, you might be wondering, how can Fool's Theory handle a new DLC and the full-on Witcher 1 remake at the same time? Well, a couple of things make that pretty realistic. First off, these projects are running on two different engines, which make it easier to split the dev team into focused subgroups. On top of that, the Witcher 1 remake is still likely in early production. So, if this new DLC is a smaller or mid-sized project, they could realistically wrap it up before the remake goes into full production. And don't forget, Fool's Theory is already used to co-developing games while leading their own. They worked on Outrider support while also making the Thaumaturge, and they've got a good track record of jungling work with studios like Larian and CD Projekt. All signs suggest this is a studio that knows how to balance multiple projects, especially when they are this close to the source material. If these rumors pan out, it's huge, both for us fans and for the whole Witcher franchise. First off, the story. What could this new DLC even be about? One popular idea is that this DLC could be a bridge connecting The Witcher 3 to The Witcher 4, with Ciri set to star as the main protagonist. The Witcher 3 has a few different endings, especially for Ciri. and a new DLC could help get all players on the same page story-wise before The Witcher 4 kicks off, maybe making certain things canon or showing us what Ciri was up to after the White Hunt. Will we get to play as Geralt for one last adventure? I'm a bit more skeptical about that, since Blood and Wine was already, in my opinion, the perfect epilogue. The podcasters themselves didn't give specific story details, saying the length and exact content are still up in the air, and they don't know if it will be paid or free. Dropping a new expansion for one of the most beloved RPGs ever, especially after so long, would be a genius marketing move. It will absolutely reignite massive interest in the franchise, putting all players back in and attracting new ones, all while CD Projekt is gearing up for The Witcher 4. We have seen these kind of things before. Borderlands 2 released the DLC 7 years after its launch to bridge the gap to Borderlands 3. Financially, even though it's old, The Witcher 3 keeps selling. A new chunky DLC would almost certainly be a hit to those already massive sales numbers and really cementing the game's legendary status. It really says something about how much people love this game when even a decade later, the idea of new content gets everyone this excited. Imagine them announcing a brand new expansion at the Summer Game Fest or the Game Awards. The hype will be absolutely insane. But until CD Projekt officially says something, this is still just a rumor, even if it is a convincing one. But the idea of full theory handling it does make that seem a lot more plausible. So there you have it. The Witcher 3, a game that basically defined a generation of RPGs, might just be getting ready for an encore, a whole decade after its first came out. For now, all we can do is wait and keep our fingers crossed. Nothing's official until CD Projekt Red says it, but the evidence is piling up and the hype is definitely real. What do you guys think about these leaks? Do you believe we are actually getting a new Witcher 3 DLC? And if we are, what kind of story would you want to see? Would you want to play as Geralt one last time? Or are you ready for a Ciri-focused adventure to lead into The Witcher 4? Let me know all your thoughts, theories and hopes down in the comments below. I'd love to hear what the Witcher community thinks about this potentially huge news. And of course, if you want to stay up to date on all Witcher news, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, and if you want to know what's really going with The Witcher 4 and the Unreal Tech demo, this is the video to watch next.